The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello, welcome to another edition of our program, CHW in Action. As always, CHW stands for Community Health Worker in Action, because I'm always in action to bring you, my lovely audience of Nashua, information about how to have a healthy lifestyle. So this show is all about health education and bringing to you guests that know a lot more than I do about health in all areas of health, and also people that we can learn from, people that we admire. And I admire Susan Mckeown, Dr. Susan Mckeown. See? No, oh, she's a doctor. She's a good doctor. Okay? It's a pleasure for me, a privilege to have her on my show. Susan, how are you?
I'm very well, Rafael.
I think of you as a doctor, not as a nurse, but what's the difference?
Oh, there's a big difference.
There's a big difference.
No, I am a pediatric nurse practitioner and very proud to be one.
And you're a great one.
Well, thank you very much.
Now, I want to tell the audience about you. I know that we met when we used to do home visits, and we would go.
Yeah. Did.
And I saw how good you are. So.
Yeah, well, you were my main interpreter, and I needed your skills.
Well, thank you very much. So I know that about you, but let's have the audience know all about you. Please tell us about yourself.
Well, I am, as you mentioned, a pediatric nurse practitioner in my professional life, and a certified prevention specialist, which means I work with areas of prevention, especially related to substance misuse and mental health issues. And I co-facilitate a FASTER parent support group in Manchester. FASTER is an acronym. Mm-hmm. It stands for Families Advocating Substance Treatment, Education, and Recovery. Okay. And I'm family support coordinator at this time. I retired from clinical practice as a nurse practitioner a year and a half ago, and became family support coordinator. So I help establish and support parent groups around the state for families who are experiencing substance misuse with their children.
Very nice. And then you wrote this amazing book, Beyond the First Dance.
That I have, and that writing has kind of been a passion of mine also. And I think the real passion being healthy relationships in marriage. And certainly in my professional life, I saw the impact. I had the privilege of working at the same job for 41 years, and so got to work with two generations of families. Wow. And that was really lovely. But I really realized the impact and the importance of healthy relationships in terms of bringing children into this world and raising healthy children. That adults have healthy relationships is really important. So I've always been rather passionate about marriage. My husband and I have been involved in the marriage preparation program in the state for the last 40 years. And in that role, we speak with engaged couples about the importance of marriage and hopefully to lessen the incidence of divorce for them.
So you wrote this book. Tell us what inspired you to write this book.
Well, when we started doing this marriage program with the engaged couples many years ago, it was evident that they were within 3 weeks to 3 months of getting married. And over the years that we've done it, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and they're passionate and love, enthusiastic, and you just would love that to continue for them. But any of us who have been engaged know that the minute the ring goes on the finger, everything turns into wedding planning. It's not really much about marriage itself. Mm-hmm. So I kept thinking, boy, I sure wish we could meet these couples before they were engaged, while they were seriously dating and they really felt that this was the person that they would probably be marrying. That would be a wonderful time, because once you have the entanglements of engagement and the financial obligations with wedding planning, the chances that you're going to do anything to derail that very expensive event is kind of unlikely. But while you're dating, you have that kind of delicious time where you can really give some thought to what's ahead and what's really important in a long-term relationship.
And you know, I read your book, and I loved your book, and it touched on, and I've been honest, I really did love it. And I know that it touched on a little bit that when people are in that romantic stage, you know, they love each other, everything is so wonderful. People don't think, I'll say we because I went to something like that. We don't think about sitting down and talking about, you know, our likes and dislikes and compatibility because we don't want to affect the magic, right? We want to be in that peaceful stage.
Well put, well put. And I use the metaphor of dance throughout the book because I think it's a great description for what happens in a relationship. And I talk early on about, you know, the dating years and the dating dance and, you know, where you're just starting to get to know each other. And as you get serious and in the first year to a marriage, you know, I compare that to the tango where there's a lot of lust and love and it's a wonderful, wonderful, exciting time. It's also a time that you really want to learn the importance of staying in sync with each other and not stepping on toes and colliding all the time.
Right.
It really is going to be a necessary thing to do if you're really going to have a partnership that works. But like anything, that period doesn't last long. So this book does address that. It kind of covers the dating years and the very early years of marriage. And another book will cover after that. But the tango does morph. It morphs into more of the years of kind of, I say, line dancing and twist and shout years. And they get busier, and so things change. But hopefully passion can wax and wane, but it should never go away. And you want to keep that alive. And that is going to be dependent a lot on the habits and the routines that you form early on in your relationship, and put those as a priority.
True. And you also mentioned in the book how people sometimes we dance at different rhythms. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, there's a whole area in there on personality differences, and you know, not all of us have the same personality, and that's okay. That doesn't have to be a deal breaker, but you just have to appreciate. Sometimes if you're an introvert married to an extrovert, there may be a little bit of work there in terms of how you go about your social lives together. But you can work those things through. I think probably one of the most important things is values. And there are certain things that you want to look at it that can be deal breakers. And, you know, why I wrote the book is so that couples will think about things ahead of time. I didn't want it to be a preachy book. I didn't want it to be advice-giving. I really wanted to just raise issues that will come up pretty much in the course of every marriage, that it's going to be important to kind of know ahead of time what's really going to be important here.
Interesting. And you know, I was going to ask you, what do you hope that your readers get from your book? But basically, you just said that.
Yes, I would like them to kind of be aware. You know, the whole purpose for me is that nobody gets married with the idea that they're going to get divorced. That isn't something anybody wants. So I look at this, and as a prevention person, that's how I look at it, is preventing divorce and hopefully in supporting and empowering couples to have a positive marriage.
Very, very nice. Because I've known many, many couples that have started so happily, so in love in that tango stage. And then I bump into them individually a couple of months, even sometimes a year later, and they're no longer together. And it's hard to explain how people that seem to be so in love all of a sudden find differences.
Yeah. And I'd like to think that if they kind of knew what to anticipate, that it might be better. I mean, we know that the leading causes of divorce are money, sex, religion, and in-laws. And although money always comes up as the number one reason, the other three are kind of up for grabs in terms of priorities. But you can get a sense of these things ahead of time if you're really looking for them. You know, think about your own family of origin and look at your partner's family of origin. Now, it doesn't mean that these things, again, have to be deal breakers, but if, someone new love has been raised in a family where there wasn't love and consistency, or if there's been any, domestic violence or abuse, these are things that affect children when they're growing up and when they're adults. And as they look at marriage, they can sometimes be very intimidated by marriage. I don't want a marriage like my parents,
Right.
And but that doesn't have to happen. The exciting thing about a couple getting married is now, if you're aware of it, you can know what to avoid, and you can define what you want for your own marriage. One of the things we do with couples when we speak to them at these seminars that we do is I hand out little cards that are about the size of a license or a credit card, so they can keep it in their wallet, and have each of them do it separately. But think about a couple whom they know that they feel has a good marriage, and then think about why they feel they have a good marriage. Nice. So they can define it for themselves. Nobody can define for anybody else what they feel a good relationship is, a strong relationship is. But when they think about it, they can come up with some adjectives. And it might be, honesty, integrity, sense of humor, responsibility, dependability, love, friendship, lots of answers that you get. Write down the ones that are important to you. And, hopefully you can get a bunch of them down there and add to them. Stick it in your wallet. And then, every once in a while it's going to fall out on the floor when you whip that credit card out at the gas station. And, you'll look at it and you'll say, respect. How am I doing with that? How am I doing with that? And it's your own map and to check on how you're doing. And it can be a valuable little tool. So some of those things, I think, can often be responsible that people forget why they got married in the first place, and also what they really like about their spouse.
Okay, beautiful. You're so wise. I like listening to you. And you wrote this amazing book. So what is next?
Well, I'm moving on in the dance routine here, and the next book, my working title for it will be Beyond the Tango.
Beyond the Tango.
The guide for couples through the chaotic years of careers, kids, and keeping house. And this is when things get really busy because you're no longer just the two of you. You've got oftentimes a career that is very pulling, and in these days, both husband and wife often have careers. And then you add children to the family. And then you've got this whole house that's supposed to be kept up, repaired, cleaned, groceries to be bought, meals to be cooked, lots of daily duties. You also have an extended family that's often has own demands, a community that you're involved with, a church you're involved with. All of a sudden, your world is not the two of you anymore.
A lot of stuff. A lot of stuff.
Yeah. So couples really, that's when the strain of marriage, that 3 to 5 years is often when a real strain comes in. But there's been some research done, and it shows that couples who can get through that period and work out a new rhythm and a partnership, 5 years later, 86% of them report being very happy and glad they stayed with it.
Very nice. Where were these books when I was going through my...
Well, I guess we always find things when we need them.
Oh,
right?
my goodness. My goodness. So how are you? I know that as far as promoting your book and letting people know about, you like to do workshops, you like to interact with people.
I love to do workshops and seminars and, gatherings with individuals, couples, because I think that, again, if you think about some of these things and you know what you want, that can be very, very helpful in determining what kind of outcome you have in your relationship.
That is very true. So I would think that your books would be, when the new one comes out, would be the best gift to give a couple that are planning to get engaged. What do you think?
Well, you're right, and it is turned out to be that way, Rafael. People buy a copy and they come back for other copies, and that's always been good. And it's been very interesting to me and very rewarding and a bit surprising, but I'm very pleased. I've had clergy buy 10 copies to work with the couples that they're counseling. And then I have a gay hairdresser who bought a copy and called me for 6 more. Wow. So, and as he said, I've written the book, as I know, from a traditional standpoint. However, he said, gay marriage is no different than heterosexual marriage. When it comes to relationships, the principles are all the same. So that was very nice to hear from him. And I have reviews online, and 60% of them are from men, and that also pleases me. So it's not just a female book, as some people kind of tend to look at weddings and relationships. Oh, women will read it. Men seem to find it very easy reads, and the chapters are very short, page and a half. You can pick it up, put it down, and when we're all busy, that's sometimes the kind of reading we like to do.
That goes for me.
Yeah.
And how can people find you? Can people find you on Facebook?
Yes, they can find me on Facebook. I have an author page on there. The book is also available in local bookstores, and if it's not in your bookstore, just ask for it. It has its ISBN number. They can order it. It's also available on Amazon and on Kindle. And if you like it, put a review on Amazon.
I'll put a review and I say it's great.
And I have a website also.
And what is that website?
The website is stayinginsync.com. STAYINGINSYNC.com.
Nice. So if someone wants to reach you, would that be the best way to reach you?
Yes, or they can use an email also, which is susan@stayinginsync.com.
Thank you. Now, for these workshops that you'll do, how is that going to work? Will you be approached by libraries or?
Sure. Anybody that was interested in that, whether it was library, churches, women's groups, couples groups, anybody that was interested in this topic of marriage and healthy relationships, would be happy to present with them.
Then I'm going to hook you up with some people.
Okay. All right.
Now, I have a question for you, because like I told you, I went through some kind of an informal divorce some years back. And I know that if I had known about this book, about you, then probably things would have gone differently. Right? So after I recovered from that wonderful time, then I came up with this Wheel of Life philosophy, because I'm a professional life coach. So all life coaches use the Wheel of Life philosophy. In my Wheel of Life philosophy, because I took the idea and created my own, so I can respect other people's work, I have a part about companionship. So I tell people, don't chase a relationship, chase a companionship. And I guess that can take different meanings. What would companionship mean to you?
I think you've hit upon an extremely important point, and I call it friendship. You really want to make sure you like the person that you're marrying. It is terribly important, to respect them and who they are. But like I have a chapter in there on magic, and it is wonderful when you're falling in love. There should be a little bit of magic. There should be an exhilarating experience, and when you're in the room with somebody, you have just eyes for them. That's a lovely feeling, nearly part of a relationship. And so that magic is nice, but there has to be a whole lot more than that. And I think friendship, and as you say, companionship, is the basis of it, because the tango will wear off. The kids are crying. You burn dinner, running late for work, pressure's on from the boss. This isn't such a great old time. And so when you wake up next to this person, you really want to say, I still like you. I really like you. And it's that liking and respect. And respect really is terrifically important, because, you're not always going to understand your mate. Things that bother him or her are not even going to be on your radar screen. So you're not going to understand it. But it is important that you respect your partner's feelings. They're not right or wrong, good or bad. They're just personal to each of us. And you need to respect them. So to me, respect always trumps understanding.
Oh, so that brings a question. Because I met your husband, very nice guy, very cool guy.
He is.
So I can see, and you're a cool lady, you're a nice lady. I can see how two cool people, two nice people can find ways to make things work. But what about people that have a partner, that are a man or woman that is really out there, someone that is just not nice or respectful and sometimes just goes overboard? How could we apply the things we're talking about to such a couple?
Well, I would like to think that those things would be, those traits would be obvious while you're dating. You want to learn about your partner in lots of different settings because your life is not going to be spent with the two of you. It's going to be spent with a greater society. And so while you're dating, you want to see your partner in lots of different situations, with your friends, with his friends, with your work colleagues, with your family, with his family, with neighbors, with lots of different areas. And how does she react? What is his political philosophies? What are the views that they hold? How do they treat people less privileged, less educated than they are? Being an observer is really going to be important. And those are the things to me that can be deal breakers. You can have different races, religion, and have wonderful marriages. But if your values and respect and kind of humanity isn't on the same page, that's probably going to catch up with you real fast.
Interesting. That's all very good things to know. Because I have seen people that it's just like a blind goes on, and they just choose not to see things, and people do get married, and then they're unhappy because it's not a bad marriage, and then they want to get out, and they know there are all these consequences.
Yeah, and I think it's important for all of us to realize we're not going to change anybody else. True. We all grow, and that's a good thing, but our basic value system and personality does not change. And so you want to really like that going into a marriage because that is what's going to probably persist. And I know one of the chapters is on behavioral health, which includes, mental health things like depression, anxiety, and also substance issues, which is a passion that I have, as I mentioned earlier. And these things are not to be overlooked when you're dating. These are things that need to be addressed. If there's been a problem with substance misuse issues or mental illness at all, depression, what's being done about this? What has been tried? What's being addressed? Is it being denied? Is it being admitted to? Is it being dealt with? Because that will come back in your marriage. And it can be very difficult to deal with. And if you're bringing children into this world, it is something that is very important. And I feel as a pediatric nurse practitioner that it's critical that adults take responsibility for their own behaviors so they're being a parent and an adult to the children that they're bringing into this world.
And you know that I agree with that, 100%.
Yes.
Okay. So now that you have written these books, okay, and you know that at least Beyond the First Dance has touched so many people, how does it make you feel inside?
Having written the book
and knowing that it's actually helping people.
Yes. Well, it is a wonderful feeling, and I just want to get it out there to a lot of people. And because if anybody can read it and it can make a difference, and in the majority of situations, I hope it validates people's feelings, that they know they're going into it and they're excited about getting married. And then for some, if it helps them look at it and saying maybe this isn't the right choice, that would be good too. That can spare an awful lot of emotional and financial stress along the way too. But I hope that it encourages people to really look at the power that each of us has in guiding our relationships and choosing wisely and then building a real strong partnership.
Beautiful. This is beautiful. So we're coming close to the end of the program. So I have two questions for you.
Yes.
The one is, if I want, let's say for me and anyone else out there that would like to bring you in to do a workshop, to do a seminar, let's say, how would people go about it? How do they'll contact you to...
Yes, they could contact me through my email and my website also. Both areas have contact information, and I'd be happy to connect with them.
Beautiful. Okay, and the last question.
Yes.
Okay, what message would you like to send out to the Nashua community?
Well, Nashua is a wonderful community. You've got a lot of vibrancy, a lot of stuff going on. And I mentioned earlier that, I promote substance groups around the state. And we have fortunate having one here in Nashua. And I think that bodes so well for families that are trying to deal with this issue. Again, so important to families and marriages. And so take advantage of your wonderful community. Show up, speak up, participate in community events and activities, because that's what really enriches a community.
Beautiful. Susan, it's been a pleasure to have you on
Thank
the TV
you.
show. So nice to... I hadn't seen you. It's been like a year, right?
I know.
We got to be in touch more often.
This would be great.
Okay.
Oh, thank you very much, Rafael.
No, thank you for coming again. And thank you for watching us. Thank you for being with us. So now you see why I admire this lady so much. She's so wise and full of good information. Okay? So thank you for watching us. Thank you for giving us some of your time. It's always a pleasure to be able to bring you these messages. That show is based on health. This is part of health. Health is not just clinical. It's also mental, and it's also spiritual. If you want to be healthy, you have to approach it from a holistic approach. You have to be healthy in all angles. So I think having a healthy relationship is really something good. To have a good marriage can help you be healthy in so many ways and help you be happy. So with that, thank you again for your time. I truly appreciate it. As always, my name is Rafael Calderon. I'm your CHW. I'm here to help. Thank you. God bless you. Have a good night.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.